Nobody ever expected Elon Musk and 50 Cent to cross paths like this. Nobody expected them to speak Diddy's name. And absolutely no one expected what they uncovered next. Because what they found was not a scandal, not a celebrity secret, but a hidden power so vast that insiders are already scrambling to erase its existence. Elon Musk and 50 Cent collaborating was never anyone's dream. Nobody expected them to openly recognize Diddy. Nobody imagined that they would find anything far worse. Quite a large object. Insiders are already frantically trying to mitigate the harm caused by something that is buried so deeply inside the institutions of power within the entertainment business and the political system. Still, it was precisely that. The Diddy incident was only the beginning of Elon Musk's and 50 Cent's comments. They continued. Beyond him, they indicated, looking toward the power that operates unseen, whoever is footing the bill for the processes, the one who protects people's good names. Whoever it was who covered Diddy for years while also wiping tracks clean, both of them believe that Epstein is rendered irrelevant in contrast to this power. A peculiar tweet made by Elon Musk at 2 a.m. was the first spark. Message brief. Deliberate and icy. A puppet is falling apart before your eyes. Everything went dark on the web, feeling lost, a frozen state that was followed by 50 Cent going live. As soon as he spoke, the whole room felt a shift. Sure, Diddy isn't at the top. Someone is higher up than him, someone more substantial. Names were never spoken by him. That wasn't necessary. A word was enough to convey his hesitancy. Apparently, this sum did more than only fund Diddy's ascent, as stated by 50 Cent. They made it. They went to his defense. The public has never laid eyes on the powerful individuals they put him in rooms with. Victims remain silent because of them. Cases halted because of this. Reason being, proof disappeared. The rationale for the eyewitness's complete amnesia. The dust has settled. No longer is this a drama involving famous people. That is not idle chatter. There is a global system like this, cultural, monetary, and political. 50 Cent and Elon Musk just pried open the door. The Diddy issue was already spiraling out of hand before their texts became viral. The number of lawsuits was growing. Old friends were disappearing. We looked through properties. After decades of silence, victims were coming up. Something was strange, however, to make it seem like Diddy wasn't the only player. It felt as if a more powerful figure was lurking in the background. Guiding, safeguarding. People owned him in ways they were ashamed to confess. Legends persisted for a long time. However, no authoritative figure has publicly said it. Prior to this moment, 50 Cent, one of the few business personalities fearless of blowback, and Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men alive, plunged straight into the tempest. Not at random. For the sake of omission. Nonetheless, they were both compelled to reevaluate their prior assumptions on the Diddy case, after coming across fresh material. Elon Musk's vocal criticism of influential organizations set the domino effect in motion. Establishments in the media, systems for artificial intelligence, economic frameworks. Something peculiar caught his eye. Discussions about Diddy promptly came to a halt if the topic arose in private. No one paid attention. New phones emerged. The subject changed. No one wanted an answer to one question, not even the political and wealthy elites. The man responsible for Diddy's creation. Details that others missed were picked up by Elon. Funds passing via fictitious entities. Personal flight logs associated with powerful individuals. Benefits that were only conceptual. Unbelievable coalitions formed by influential people in the music industry and the political sphere. Furthermore, at the same period, 50 Cent started to hear the same warnings again. The same voices that had warned him for years about contracts for private events that were inappropriate, and attendees who were foreign to him and who had never been included on any list. The reality, they assured him, had nothing to do with Diddy's collapse. It pertained to the framework that enabled him to remain upright. Someone he trusted for too long shielded him. 50 whispered to someone close to him, according to others close to him. For both guys, that revelation became the center of attention. Rumor has it that Elon and 50 were initially at odds with one another. They were each working their own trench, talking to various insiders, putting together disparate parts. But in the end, they were a perfect fit. Intelligence community leaders were among those with whom Elon talked. 50 spoke to longtime workers who made the decision to leave the business for good many years ago. The two of them overheard a secret whisper of the same name. A powerful enough moniker to make CEOs' cheeks flush. An immediate deterrent to politicians, that name. When they heard that name, millionaires looked over their shoulders. No rapper was ever the focus here. Notoriety was never the objective. The controversy was always a part of it. This was about a builder, a system constructor, one who manages empires, a puppeteer with powers and influence that beyond anything Epstein could have imagined, including wealth, influence, and leverage. Of all the details, this is the most disturbing. In public, he is never seen. He is completely absent from any internet communications. He would rather not be interviewed. He remains completely reticent. Still, he has power over influential individuals in politics, entertainment, and society. A lot of people thought it was funny. That wasn't it. Elon Musk, meanwhile, persisted. Unreported intelligence briefings and offshore funding trails were among the things he looked at. What he discovered thereafter unsettled him. Repetition of the same patterns. According to the records, Diddy was allowed to join exclusive clubs where he had no business being. Hollywood treatment was lacking. This was done on purpose. The same thing was being said by survivors from the early 2000s and the 90s at the same time. Diddy was never the only one. A confidential source informed a journalist that Diddy maybe succeeded. The detectives were taken aback by just one sentence, meaning Diddy wasn't doing it solo. With the system, he fit in. His dependence on the system both protected and exploited him. At that point, everything fell into place. According to 50 Cent's inner circle, a former industry source discreetly informed him that Diddy was really a front. 50 later confessed that he had never seen such utter terror in a mature man before. Elon Musk was also receiving similar warnings, although from other sources. An advisor had informed him that inquiries had been halted for a reason many years ago. Its name was Same. 50 had started to hear the same name. Executives still would not reveal the identity in public. That same name was shunned by the prosecution. Victims who were targeted uttered hushed cries of terror. Despite no public confirmation, the same name keeps popping up in files associated with Diddy and Epstein. It was not about Diddy's impending collapse that Elon understood. What mattered most was the rationale behind Diddy's ascent, its creator, the things that individual was still able to influence. It all made sense now after all those years of cover-ups, deleted cases, and halted inquiries. Power did not allow Diddy to survive. Due of his usefulness, he managed to live. And someone whose influence went beyond the realms of music, Hollywood, and politics would find this very useful. It was no exaggeration when Elon said in his article that a puppet was crashing. He was waving his hand. All uncertainty was eliminated by 50 Cent's reaction. Nobody had anticipated how enormous this would be. Unlike Diddy in size. Greater even than the controversy. The empire did not come from Diddy. At this point, the question is being posed by fans, journalists, podcasters, and investigators alike. Surely someone else must be at the top, if not Diddy. And what is the reason why Elon Musk and 50 Cent are the first significant people to take a position in his favor? The following cannot be avoided. Epstein will seem to be nothing more than a run-through when the power behind Diddy is revealed. The figures ceased making sense as Elon Musk dug more, those transactions that ought not to take place. Travel documents that bring together individuals who have never officially recognized each other. Charities that do not get any financial support from anybody. Media conglomerates producing zero content. Real ownership is concealed by property trusts. Foundations funded by Shell invested millions on unrecorded events. Falsehoods were known to Elon. In Silicon Valley, he had seen more than enough Shell systems to identify money laundering at a glance. Though it was not deceitful, this was the building process. An endlessly resourceful person could only have designed such a flawless structure. An individual who was able to construct a machine in which each and every cash, favor, flight, and meeting was used to accomplish a single objective: authority. It was 3:37 in the morning when the first crack was audible. A source inside the intelligence community communicated with Elon, a person with whom he had previously communicated. Occasionally, this person would provide details on political tendencies and surveillance programs. It was a unique message. According to what it stated, he was staring in the improper position. The point of no return was not Diddy. With expressionless eyes, Elon saw the screen. Who and what is delivered by a system? Another message popped up just as he was about to respond. A primary goal in creating Diddy was to facilitate communication with individuals. Elon realized at that same second that he was not exposing wrongdoing. Design was being revealed to him. 50 Cent was getting the same advice from his peers in the entertainment industry all throughout the nation. His family and friends were invited to the private celebrations, events in which mobile devices were stolen. We signed non-disclosure agreements. Attendees pulled up in dark SUVs with obscured license plates. Events that Diddy was instrumental in planning and executing. According to 50 Cent former guests, the invite lists were deliberate, carefully selected celebrities. Polliters were picky about who they welcomed. Included on purpose were business executives. On purpose, victims targeted. In every case, the outcome was the same. Tap into your resources. As 50 Cent drove further, a few of guests confessed that something did not seem quite right, as if there were an additional entity. Subtle, but evident. Someone who worked with him as a producer informed him that Diddy was never really in control. When 50 learned anything from a former security guard at one of those gatherings, it was the first big turn of events. An individual whose activities are restricted by an NDA. Under the radar for a decade. Remaining trembling as he talked. He felt Diddy wasn't taking enough precautions. Someone else was he shielding from harm. Every aspect was altered by that statement. One room was off limits to guests at all times, the security noted. A room with only 2 individuals working in it. An area that Diddy would never enter without authorization. His world came crashing down around him as he heard who had control of that room. Simultaneously, Elon Musk met with a former investigator from the Department of Justice. This person has a history of dealing with intelligence breaches, money laundering, and trafficking. A folder was presented by the investigator. It would be left on the table by him. Never would he permit photographs. Elon couldn't keep it for more than 30 seconds, according to him. There were pieces inside. Only pieces. Almost enough to show a terrifying body shape. Not all names are in the private plane manifest. An unofficial roster of prominent figures that were supposed to attend a gathering that never took place. There was a significant transfer of funds from a private corporation domiciled in Cayman to a property trust in Los Angeles, as detailed in a file that was discovered. Afterwards, a surveillance picture appeared, blurry, totally black. A person who did not belong to Diddy was clearly seen, as it stepped out of a car in the footage. Following that incident, Elon stopped digging for fun. He dug because it was necessary. A name concealed in offshore accounts, sealed data, and unseen networks had crossed his path. What the detective revealed to him subsequent was somewhat more disturbing. It did not start with Epstein. He stood in the center. Even with Epstein, it was hardly the last stretch. There was congruence in the information that 50 Cent was receiving. Someone who had spent decades working inside the business was the source of his information. After finding something at one of Diddy's residences, the ex-executive disappeared from public view. It was only because people saw the island that Epstein seemed to be strong, according to the executive who advised him. In this case, an island wasn't necessary. The name remained a mystery to him. The name remained a mystery to him. The tide turned at that moment. 50 knew at once that this figure's relative quiet had nothing to do with non-disclosure agreements or legal action. A sense of dread motivated it. The next change was the most important one. This intelligence contact also communicated with Elon via another communication. Find the one name Diddy never spoke if you're trying to track him down. He praised the guy behind closed doors. This is the guy whose name never ever showed up in any archives. The two were having a conversation at the exact same moment. 50 Cent had previously been an assistant in Diddy's company. An individual who saw more than was intended for them. No one from Diddy ever acknowledged the worry. The calls he got were the source. According to 50's assistant, Diddy would freak out every time that dude phoned. He was always cooperative. He blindly followed instructions. Afterwards, Elon heard a different source mention the same title later that night. He quickly realized why the name was never pronounced in public, since it was such an unpleasant and protected moniker. The builder. The genius. I am the system builder. The motor that drives the device. All of the sources confirmed the same thing. Diddy was not the only one this figurine protected, his creation. Elon and 50 were finally drawing near after decades of being silent. The architect, however, was not trying to get away, observing intently. As soon as he sensed their approach, he took action. Elon did not get a message from an investigator in his. Subsequent communication. The sender remains unknown, merely 2 words. Put an end to it. It wasn't that Diddy was protected that was shocking. It was because the guard had seen them. Plus, he had no intention of being unseen. It was not an arbitrary warning. Nobody was being trolled. It was not a bare room. It was dead on. The wording is exact. Security was improved. This was obviously not a civilian, Elon realized at once. This individual had access, egress to secure communication channels. get in touch with his digital world, unusually high levels of access to monitoring capabilities. Someone working at a level outside of international security briefings that Elon hardly ever saw. For what seemed like an eternity, he gazed at the message, in no uncertain terms. For the simple reason that it validated his long-held suspicions. The architect had his whole attention. He was being observed by the architect. 2 security experts received the communication from Elon, one that comes from SpaceX, one made by Tesla. They reached the same conclusion in a matter of minutes. There were 3 international relays that the signal had to pass through. Wow, it was very polished. Level of intelligence, government level, alternatively something far riskier, covert espionage. 50 Cent was under similar scrutiny on the other side of the nation. Not even encryption could get him a warning in his universe. They got there by way of humans murmuring softly, by way of an abrupt stillness, someone he fully trusted called Elon the morning after message 50. One of the most renowned producers in the business, having decades of experience. He was a guy of infinite knowledge who never spoke a word. This was the first time he had ever contacted 50 about Diddy. At least once. According to him, he was aware of what the number 50 Cent was requesting. He also advised him to cease right away. Symbolism did not exist here. Here was the framework. Rooms, computer systems, connection points, channels of influence, layers formed prior to Diddy's fame. Epstein was born a long time ago, prior to the rise of Hollywood's power structure. Its age was evident. Calm down, deeper within, and far safer. Elon's crew discovered something much more sinister at that very time. It had been possible to decipher the encrypted alert message. A private security firm's old system was the last relay to be followed. The world's richest families have hired this company. Offshore accounts that financed Diddy's residences, events, and enterprises in the 2000s were directly associated with one of their families. There was a reason behind this. Now we know for sure. In a nutshell, it was Elon Musk's executive director of cybersecurity. There was no danger here. It proved something. An indication that Elon had purposefully approached something unseen. Meanwhile, 50 Cent got some much more troubling news. An unnamed source with knowledge of Diddy's logistical operation, which included managing guest lists, private planes, and special access. Reach out. Nobody was notified. There will be no gathering, absent from discourse. A solitary PDF document. Just a list. Athletes, politicians, CEOs, and media personalities were among the people whose names appeared. However, I found the pattern unsettling. There was no criminal link between these individuals. Their shared utility bound them together. Connections between careers, reputations, and secrets held together by an unseen force. A strong individual who could destroy them with only one revelation. All names were abbreviated, initials only. Everywhere else, save for one. There was only one letter. Stand out. By myself. Keep apart. A. There was no mistaking the message. A practiced architecture. For close to 15 minutes, 50 Cent seemed to be staring at the TV. Reading made his hands quiver. As he tried to make sense of the selection process, he mumbled the names. Attempting to understand the breadth of the network. Diddy was unrelated to this. Scandals have nothing to do with this. On a grand scale, this was a concession. Eventually, blackmail became a system, considered a kind of money, growing influence into a powerful empire. One of the best ways to get it to people had been Diddy. Elon Musk was in Austin, Texas, putting together his own portrait. Along with a data analyst and a former intelligence advisor, he assembled a private investigation team of 2. They went over everything for 6 hours in a row. All the paths eventually ended in the same place. The builder was not involved in production, no artistic talent, not a maverick, did not hold a political office. His occupation was that of a financier, an unnamed millionaire whose wealth has never been disclosed. On the other hand, in the background of hundreds of contracts, investments, foundations, and entertainment agreements, whose firms arose quietly, a guy who has no desire for stardom, infatuated with power. One paper in particular caught Elon's attention. In the middle of the 2000s, Diddy's growth was quietly financed via an offshore deal involving a firm. The funds came from a trust in Switzerland. The Cayman Islands are the administrator's HQ, under the direction of an anonymous figure. However, I recognized the signature. The heart rate of the Elon ended before that same signature had been found. Offshore accounts were associated with Epstein. During the course of an inquiry into EU trafficking, included in a top-secret intelligence document. It was in the year 2004, during a Hollywood controversy. Silencing whistleblowers is a political basis. Please sign this one document. 5 instances, 3 landmasses. No longer was the architect only a hypothesis. Truly he was. Around the world he was known. Also, he was observing. Next, the last bend. There was a terrible collision between Elon's discoveries and 50 Cent's list. Concurrently, 50 Cent also got a new file from the unknown sender. It wasn't data this time. No names. Money matters not. A photograph it was. A dark corridor shot with a blurry camera. Left of center is Diddy, not movable, very anxious, possessing a mobile device. A shadowy man towering above the scene wears a black suit. Abandoned the camera's view. The builder. The evildoer at the center of it all. Nearer than everyone had anticipated, no one on the internet reacted the second the picture became viral. It broke apart. Every major platform was inundated within 30 minutes. Many hypotheses were shared on Twitter. The heavy traffic caused Reddit servers to crash. Popular Instagram accounts that were once renowned for lighthearted rumors have recently become serious. Like a historical crime reel, TikTok developers spent hours streaming and breaking down the silhouette, moment by frame. However, the genuine responses took place in other places. Phones on private networks were turned on behind closed doors. You couldn't access your accounts. Legal counsel for corporations quietly sent out internal warnings. Reactivation of non-disclosure agreements took place. Without providing any justification, a prominent entertainment corporation terminated 3 executives. Some event had precipitated this. Instantly, those who were aware of the architect's existence could feel it. A journalist received a 2-word note from a former CEO. Watch out. Elon Musk and 50 Cent, meanwhile, were starting to attract attention. Not at random, disregarding cyberbullies. However, by those who were well cognizant of the nature of their discovery. Weird things started happening to Elon within 24 hours after the picture went viral. Someone claiming to be from federal law enforcement requested Elon's travel records, which a Tesla employee found odd. Near a restricted zone, security at SpaceX seized a drone. Unauthorized access was detected in one of Elon's private communications sent to an advisor. An improbable feat accomplished. And this was by no means the end of it. There was a totally different kind of reaction that 50 Cent encountered. Without prior notice, 3 ex-colleagues contacted. Characters he hadn't communicated with in almost a decade. This individual does not threaten you, according to one. Before declaring that he outshines both labels and producers, another artist halted. While the other 2 remained silent, the third quietly said that this sum was unprecedented in the business world. 50 remained silent. It was crystal clear to him. It had been weeks since he'd heard the dread. As soon as he began asking inquiries, he had the experience of seeing doors close instantaneously. Even the architect's name was taboo among the seasoned warriors he saw. Half of the people in the snapshot sent a brief Instagram statement after it became viral. He was shielded from harm. 5 million views were achieved in only 1 hour. At that point, it disappeared. 50 failed to eradicate it. Instagram accomplished it. All of it was only the start. Anything that even remotely hinted to the architect started to vanish off the internet. Videos removed without providing a reason. Accounts that did not break any rules had their tweets removed silently. Absence of podcast portions. Overnight, profiles become private. Nothing about this was fictitious. The record was being scrubbed by someone. Somebody was wiping the slate clean. Whatever it was, their effect went much beyond that of a famous person. Journalists themselves took note. A prominent news outlet reported a blackout. However, those who had been quiet for years had the most telling responses. There were some who lived under non-disclosure agreements and threats of silence. At last, a few started to speak out. This was not a celebrity-obsessed individual, according to an unidentified former security contractor. Information ownership by the architect was exposed by a former entertainment lawyer. 2 names were always present at every gathering, according to a different source. A burner phone, associated with a previous executive in the sector, sent some really unsettling texts. It was inevitable that Diddy would hit rock bottom. That architect probably wouldn't. Meanwhile, the federal government's involvement skyrocketed. The architect and a private spy outfit were both mentioned in the leaked files. An abandoned charity. The investing club is closed. Trusts for education that are offshore. A instance of human trafficking in Europe from the early 2000s at the time. Elon had also seen this tendency. In separate studies, the same signature keeps popping up. Remove 1 layer at a time. Diddy was re-examined by analysts as an element in a system rather than the mastermind of an empire. 1 node, one who is controlled. Versatile vessel. The suspicion was further fueled by the FBI's silence. A journalist was advised by an unidentified agent that it is possible to arrest a prominent person. Yes, that was the problem. The architect's true identity remained a mystery, nothing outside his sphere of influence. Network resistance increased in direct proportion to Elon and 50's pressure. Then an unforeseen event occurred. There has been no announcement. I don't understand. Rumor has claimed that the picture was involved. On his campaign website, a politician discreetly deleted 3 photos. These are all from events that Diddy went to a long time ago. Not long after bringing up the architect on a podcast, a famous journalist revealed that their home security system had been broken into. Nothing happened at random. The tone was combative. Nothing was hidden by the architect. He was trying to keep himself hidden. In both politics and the tech and Hollywood industries, the reaction was the same: loss of speech, terror, and disappearance. It was finally comprehended by the general people. The creature did not exist in Diddy. He wore the disguise. There was a monster in the architect. And now that 50 Cent and Elon Musk had moved into his shadow, the monster was observing him. By the time the last twist came, the aftermath had already begun to quicken. Not by way of a breach. Not via a trusted insider. Not by means of an enigmatic document. The architect himself sent the note this time. The hour was after midnight. Finally, Elon had returned home. The boundary around his property was secured. Goggles are on. Devices with encryption turned off. It was one of the few times he totally disengaged. Then his cell phone came on. A stranger, I don't know. Complete anonymity. I will not introduce myself. After then, Elon did not move. Threats were nothing new to him. Breach, invasion. However, I sensed a change here, at ease. Self-assured. Personal. To the point where he was told that he was participating in a game with rules that he was unfamiliar with. The message disappeared before his security detail could locate it. Left intact. No longer kept. Gone. Like it was never even a thing. His director of cybersecurity remained still for a few seconds after Elon informed him. Later on, he said that there are only 3 organizations globally capable of doing it. 50 Cent got yet another anonymous drop at the same time, which occurred throughout the nation. Unlike a PDF, not an image. His face lit up the second he cracked it up. These names were quite new, people who have not been forgotten. These individuals were among the most influential cultural figures still living in the present day. Individuals concealed from public view. A tech founder worth $1 billion. An ex-athlete with endorsement agreements all around the world. A prominent executive in the streaming industry. An accomplished filmmaker. A philanthropist with a reputation for giving to groups that support children. Each name had a remark. Every note clarified leverage. Private, criminal, intimate, financial. The audience fell into a hushed stillness as the file came to a close. Then, 3 words showed up. Get rid of it. Remove from the team. Directly next to them on each side are 2 names expressed in cursive. Puff Daddy, the alternative applicant. 50 Cent instantly stood up as he saw the substitute candidate's name. This person was known all across the globe. Someone very large, one who was beloved by many. Someone connected on a global scale. This person was already being positioned by the architect as the next cultural asset, according to the report. Ready to be lifted, leveraged, and managed in the same manner that Diddy had been treated. No one ever heard 50 say the name aloud. Elon and his team had made their most important finding to that point as he processed that truth. Simply a name. No picture here. Just a paper, not an identification card. A distinctive pattern was discovered. Even Epstein's offshore accounts showed the same trend of finances. Within the financial streams of Diddy, within the charitable foundations associated with influential figures in Hollywood. And that's without even mentioning the irrelevant 2008 European intelligence memo. There was a reason behind this. This was done on purpose. Someone who did not want their name published might utilize this strategy. Their impact alone. This is not a signature of a single individual, according to one of Elon's experts who gazed at the screen. Elon got it right away. It was not only the architect working. Everything changed when I realized that. Something far greater arose. Shell networks powered by artificial intelligence, run by a privatized intelligence empire, under the command of an unknown entity. Supporting famous people, politicians, media moguls, and entertainment moguls financially. Among other distribution methods, Diddy is being used. Plus, the dossier claims that they were already planning a successor for Diddy when he collapsed. No longer did the architect seem like a singular monstrosity. To him, he was like a building. At that point, the actual precipice appeared. Only once did Elon's phone vibrate. Notification not issued. Not a single banner. A mere indication in silence. One message was waiting for him when he opened the device. One picture. Next, a different message showed up. Elon Musk and 50 Cent both knew then what was true. No longer was the architect hesitating. Not at all. In getting ready, he spoke. Then the following move, which had not been observed by anybody before, was already in motion. Everyone is blaming Diddy for the debacle. Do not even bother trying. Take a moment to collect yourself before continuing or clicking away. No, this is not a drama involving famous people. A feud does not exist. This is hardly a catastrophic decline, a global structure that is concealed, a method that was developed by a guy whose name has never been mentioned in public by anybody, whose countenance has remained hidden. The trust of whom permeates every sector of society. No secret was stumbled upon by Elon Musk. It was more than just an entertainer that 50 Cent exposed. Hollywood, Washington, and the music business have always denied the existence of something older, deeper, and more deadly than what they encountered. Nothing ever came out of Diddy's brain. At no point in time was he the pinnacle. In reality, he was never the bad guy. A vessel he was. Just one among several. The reaction has already started since Elon and 50 have entered the field of architecture. All messages deleted, erased files, entire database cleaned, caution notices sent, suppression of speech. There is a strengthening of the shadow network. Even the monstrous creature responsible has begun to pay attention. No one was trying to shock you with that message. It constituted an assertion. This is the boundary he has created, having erased names, shaped empires, shaped narratives, and constructed careers, all to demolish when they were no longer useful to him. What do you think will happen next? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Determine who will be filling in for the absent member. Tell me who the architect is getting ready to raise. The reason he is going after Elon and 50 is puzzling. What exactly does the dark figure in the shot of the hallway stand for? I care about your ideas. How you respond is important. As word gets out, the architect's anonymity is slipping away. Please subscribe and enable all alerts if you are new to this site. I mean, get this, the next episode is going to be the scariest one yet. What follows is the subsequent message. The next link may compel the builder to come clean or take an irresistible action. Spread the word about this video. Get the word out. Continue to be careful. There's a true monster lurking behind Diddy.